Hare Krishna. Welcome to Shravanam Shanivar, our Saturday series of serving the Srimad Bhagavatam. I feel not at all qualified to be here, but absolutely grateful to get this valuable opportunity to speak and learn about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, and serve Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you so much for being here, especially everyone here live in person, as well as whoever is watching online now or at a later time. Hari Bol. We'll start with some prayers. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vrajadari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Just a disclaimer, I am here to learn, so please feel free, all the Vaishnavas sitting here in the assembly as well as online, to correct me, to chastise me, as Srila Prabhupada says. I am open to all the constructive criticism. So, thank you again for giving me this opportunity. We'll get started. We are on Canto 1, chapter 15. Last week we heard the first verse in this chapter by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, and today we'll take it from second verse onwards. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 I want to dedicate this class to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and all his successors in the disciplic succession. So I'll start with praying to him first. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे चैतन्य जय प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. And then prayers for why we read Srimad Bhagavatam. I hope to purify so many of my anarthas. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki narayanam namaskrutyam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. There is one more prayer we read before reading Bhagavatam every day during the weekdays in the group. Shrunvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha rudhyanthasto abhadrani vidhunoti suruttamam. And then mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande shri gurum deenatarinim paramananda madhavam. Okay, so the chapter that we will be studying today is titled The Pandavas Retire Timely. And last Saturday we heard from Srila Prabhupada about how this is in the mood of separation, viraha, it is called in Sanskrit. And Srila Prabhupada stressed on the fact that how nobody in this world is truly independent. So, and so far what has happened is Arjuna is returning from Dwarka to Hastinapur, and in 14th chapter we saw how Maharaj Yudhishthir was saying so many bad omens, inauspicious signs. A lot of them are listed. We studied it through the last few weeks. And then when he saw Arjuna coming, he saw how Arjuna was so pale and looking dejected, like something is wrong. He could see right away. And he started asking Arjuna in the 14th chapter at the end, what happened? Like he asked so many questions. Did this happen? That happened? Were you not able to serve? Or some like so many questions he asked, but he saved his worst fear because he didn't want to say it out, like what he was really suspecting, if that is true. He even asked in verse 44, I think, or 34, if Supreme Personality of Lord Shri Krishna is happy, is he doing okay, all the family members and everything. And at the very end, he spoke out his worst fear, that has the Lord left us. And then let's start with today's verses. So 1.15.2. Shokena shushad vadana Vrutsarojo hataprabha Vibhum tamevanusmaran Nashaknot pratibhashitum. Would someone like to recite? Shokena Sushradvadana Ritsarojo Hataprabha Vibhum Tameva Nusmaran Nashaknot Pratibhashitum. Anyone else? Shokena Shishyadvadana Ritsarojo Hataprabha Vibhum Tamevanusmaran Nashaknot Pratibhashitum. So, like Krishna Smaranam Mataji, Dr. Sumitra Vasu, Krishna Jivani Mataji, I'm so sorry. Like how she goes by word to word, I also like to do that. So, if that's okay, we'll just see the synonyms. Shokena, due to bereavement. Shushyat Vadana, drying up of the mouth. Rut Saroja, you may recognize some of the words for those of you from the Indian backgrounds. Rut is heart and Saroja is lotus, so lotus like heart. Hata is lost. Prabha, bodily luster. Vibhum, the supreme. Tam, unto Lord Krishna. Eva, certainly. Anusmaran, thinking within. Na, could not. Ashaknot, be able. Pratibhashitum, properly replying. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. So, due to grief, Arjuna's mouth and lotus-like heart had dried up. Therefore, his body lost all luster. Now, remembering the Supreme Lord, he could hardly utter a word in reply. So, Suta Goswami is describing all the symptoms that Arjuna is facing, and this is really straightforward, so no purport really was needed. And we'll continue. We have 4 more verses today, and then at the end we'll start with lessons from this and then reflections. Does that sound okay? So text 3. Krichrena samtabhya shuchah पाणिनामृज्य नेत्रयोः परोक्षेण समुन्नद्ध प्रणयोत्कण्ठ्या कातरः. Anyone would like to decide? Or should we keep going? Okay. So word by word. Krishnena, with great difficulty. Samstabhya, by checking the force. Shuchah, of bereavement. Panina, with his hands. Amrujya, smearing. Netrayoho, the eyes. Parokshena, due to being out of sight. Samunnadha, increasingly. Pranaya Utkanthya, eagerly thinking of the affection. Katarah, distressed. The translation. With great difficulty, he checked the tears of grief that smeared his eyes. He was very distressed because Lord Krishna was out of his sight, and he increasingly felt affection for him. So Arjuna's symptoms are again clarified further. Then one more verse before Arjuna himself will finally be able to say something. So text 4, Suta Goswami is saying, Sakyam Maitrim Saurudam Cha Saratyadishu Samsmaran Nrupamagrajam Ityaha Bashpa Gadgadaya Gira. Sakyam means well-wishing. Maitrim, benediction. Saurudam, intimately related, cha also, Sarathya Adishu in becoming the chariot driver, Samsmaran, remembering all these, Nrupam unto the king, Agrajam, the elder brother, Iti, thus, Aha, said, Bashpa, heavily breathing, Gadgadya, overwhelmingly, Gira, by speeches. So in this verse, remembering Lord Krishna and his well wishes, benefactions, intimate familial relations, and his chariot driving, Arjuna was overwhelmed and he was breathing very heavily and he began to speak. So, Suta Goswami is kind of summarizing what's to come in the next few verses. Uh, we all may know that Krishna exhibited Sakya Rasa with Arjuna. It was the most intimate, friendly relation. Not just a well-wisher, but he was a benefactor. He did, Lord Krishna did so many favors to Arjuna throughout his life. And like the elevated soul that Arjuna is, he is acknowledging it all and he's remembering it all and reflecting it all while remembering the Lord. Uh, do we have time to read the purport? Okay. Anybody wants to take over reading the purport? Or?
And domestic skill more content for time. My God, my God, I agree with Bhaktin Charuta, my God, and the Lord said, my son, remember always.
Thank you, Chanakya Pandit Prabhu. So, this purport it is described how we just said Krishna was in an intimate Sakya Ras with Arjun. There are n number of ways how Krishna has helped and supported and loved Arjuna. Arjuna was able to succeed through his life only because of Krishna's favors. And Krishna never really expected respect or awe or reverence mode from Arjuna. So he was showing us the Sakya Rasa through Arjuna. So Krishna with his or her pure devotees is full, in full with all the relations. There are different rasas described. And with Arjuna, he was not just a well-wisher or friend, but he was also a relative because Arjuna's wife was Krishna's sister. Um, Arjuna got so many of his strengths only because of Krishna's mercy and grace. And in the next verses, we'll see how Arjuna is recalling all the favors. I was listening to a lot of classes around this, and I don't know a lot about Mahabharata, but I made a list of all the favors that Krishna has granted to Arjuna. I can just read it out. Like during Draupadi's Vivaha ceremony, there were many wicked and lusty princes in that assembly. Karna was denied by Drupada, saying that only Kshatriya or above, Kshatriya or Brahmanas are acceptable as a suitable vara for Draupadi. Karna got really angry. Some were not even able to lift the bow. And finally, Arjuna, who was in the garb of a Brahmana, Bhishma Pitamaha, Bhima, so sorry, same as Bhima, they were both dressed as Brahmanas. So they were able to win over. Like people were astonished how Arjuna was able to win in that assembly. But he was just dressed as a Brahmana, he was actually a Kshatriya. And then he also conquered Indradev and his associated and enabled Agnidev to devastate Khandava forest. He saved demon Maya from Khandava forest, who later built the mystical assembly house. So these are just few of the so many favors that Krishna has granted to Arjuna. So Hari is Bandhu Rupi in the form of a brother to Arjuna. Similarly, Maya, Krishna's Yoga Maya is Bahurupi. She comes in so many forms, in the form of pride, illusion, ego, desire to lord it over the material world. So one of my reflections was that we have to overcome this Bahurupi Maya by surrendering to the Lord, because only by Lord's grace are we able to, we'll see in the next verse, it is clearly described. So finally, overcoming all the overwhelming emotions and grieving. During grief, it's really hard. Like, it may look like an ordinary person grieving, looking at all these symptoms, but it's really difficult, at least for me, to relate to what Arjuna is facing here. Loss of personal association of Bhagavan, can't even imagine. So it may look like an ordinary person grieving, but it is so much more. But Arjuna gets the courage to speak. So we'll move to the next word, text 5. Arjuna uvacha vanchitoham maharaj harina bandhurupina yena me aparutam tejo deva vismapanam mahat. Arjuna uvacha means Arjuna said, vanchita means he is left, devoid, left by him. Aham, myself, Maharaja. He is speaking to his older brother Yudhishthir Maharaj. So he is saying, O king, Harina, by the personality of Godhead Hari, Bandhu Rupina, as if he was an intimate friend, like a Bandhu. Yena, by whom, may, my Aparutam, I have been bereft, Teja, power, Deva, the demigod, Vismapanam, astonishing, Mahat, astounding. So Arjuna said, O king, the supreme personality of Godhead Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus, my astounding power, which astonished even the demigod, is no longer with me. So, let's start with purport, and then, or should I start with reflections first? Okay. So I just wanted to say that, like I was saying earlier, here Arjuna is saying that his brother, like intimate friend, has left him. That is what he is saying. And like Yudhishthir Maharaj has already noticed, he had lost all of his luster, all of his divine powers that even demigods were astonished by. So what are all the powers that Arjuna had? That also I was curious to. I have a small list. So what all did he do? He conquered sleep and ignorance. It's called Gudakesha. Then he is called Dhananjaya because he is conqueror of wealth. He was able to shoot with his Gandiva bow. Then Pashupata Astra defeated Lord Shiva post Vana and Ajnatavas. He was able to douse the fire of Agni Deva and created big roof of arrows. And then he defeated Nivata Kavacha. There were 3 crore demons. Arjuna learned celestial weapons, and Indra asked him for Guru Dakshina to defeat those 3 crore demons, and Arjuna was able to do it. So these are just to name a few of the so many astonishing powers that Arjuna had. He was an excellent disciple. We all know, most of you must have heard the story of how in that assembly when everyone was asked, so what are you seeing? Everyone was seeing something or the other, but when Arjuna was asked, his focus was just on the eye of the bird. So thorough concentration as opposed to everyone else was not really completely focused. he was obedient and brilliant. And in the Bhagavad Gita, we have seen how he wanted to learn from Krishna, and like he was really dejected up to chapter second, and then um, he wanted to do what Krishna is asking him to do. So similarly, like Krishna empowers devotees, it's like we are endowed with it. We should not feel entitled because it's all the powers that we have, whatever little, like every person has some power or the other. It's just a tiny fraction of, like Krishna says, Mamai Vamsha. We just are a tiny fraction, an Amsha of Lord Krishna. So in his book Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, in the 365 reflections, there is one reflection that says that we should not take sole credit for anything that happens. It's because in Bhagavad Gita 7.8, Krishna says, where he says, I am the taste in water, rasoham. At the end, he says, Paurusham Nrushe. I am the ability in man. So, whatever ability any living being has, it's only because of grace of Krishna. Um, so, instead of feeling entitled, like Arjuna is doing, we should acknowledge the source where it is coming from and offer everything in service to the source. So, like we hear every time, we are parts and parcels. So, the most common analogy is like body parts, how we are all serving the stomach. So, similarly, if as parts and parcels, if we serve the whole and offer everything as a service, then we will feel fulfilled. So, let's see what the purport says. Anybody wants to read?
In Bhagavad Gita 10:41, the Lord says, anyone specifically powerful and opulent in wealth, strength, beauty, knowledge, and all that is material desirable is to be considered but a product of an insignificant portion of the complete whole mind. No one, therefore, can be independently powerful in any measure without being endowed by God. When the Lord descends to the earth along with his eternal ever-present associate, he not only displays the divine energy possessed by himself, but also empowers his associate devotees with the required energy to execute his mission of incarnation. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.5 that the Lord and his eternal associates descend to the earth many times, but the Lord remembers all the different roles of incarnation that the associate by his supreme will for them. Similarly, the Lord takes away with him all his associates when he disappears from the earth. The power and energy which were bestowed upon Arjuna were required for fulfillment of the mission of the Lord. But when his mission was fulfilled, the emergency powers were withdrawn from Arjuna because the astounding powers of Arjuna, which were astonishing even to the denizens of heaven, were no longer required, and they were not meant for going back home back to God. If endowment of powers and withdrawal of powers by the Lord are possible even for a great devotee like Arjuna, or even the demigods in heaven, then what to speak of the ordinary living beings who are but pigs compared to such great souls? The lesson is therefore that no one should be puffed up for his powers borrowed from the Lord. The same man should rather feel obliged to the Lord for such benefactions and must utilize such power for the service of the Lord. Such power can be drawn at any time of the Lord, so the best use of such power and opulence engage them in the service of the Lord.
Yeah. Everything is there in the purport. I don't really need to say anything. Srila Prabhupada has so clearly articulated, and at the end, like the most important lesson from this verse is nobody should be puffed up. So there is a common saying like, don't be proud of borrowed plumes. Like, as a bird, like if we have plumes, it's because we are borrowing it from the creator. We should be obliged and acknowledge, and we cannot be independent at all. Like we learned in last Saturday's session from His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, that nobody is truly independent unless we are granted an opulence, part of fraction, many tiny, insignificant fraction of the Lord. So one also important point here is Krishna empowers devotees only for a mission to be fulfilled. It's not like randomly some person gets this or that. And we should know that it can be withdrawn at any time. So again, this is like an endowment on a rent basis. Um, so Krishna wants his devotees to be celebrated. That's why also he gives them the power. And Krishna's representatives are the pure devotees. Srila Prabhupada was one of the big ones in that list, our founding Acharya. We sing in the Arti in the evening, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasado, Yasya Prasadat. It's a very subtle difference. Yasya Aprasadat Nagati Kutopi. Yeah, in the morning, Arti. So I was just reflecting how the mission that Srila Prabhupada was assigned by his Guru Maharaj, it seemed almost impossible. Like, think about all the four regulative principles coming to the West, where the whole country is founded on, like, it's just such a common place, all four of those. But I've heard Srila Prabhupada quote Napoleon Bonaparte in one of his classes that impossible is a word in fool's dictionary. And because he was empowered by Lord Krishna and his Guru Maharaj, everything was aligned when he came. Like, I'm not saying it was an easy mission by any means, but he made it possible by the grace and mercy of Krishna and Guru. In the 60s, like there were so many hippies, as we say, like they were rebellious, they were seeking for alternate life and detached from family and other such obligations already. And it's just astonishing how within a matter of 12 years, he attempted to take Krishna and be conscious about Krishna all over the world. There is a chain of beautiful disciplic succession that we have at our disposal now. So let us all try to take to it. The most important practice is chanting Lord's name. Um, so these are all lessons for myself. I am saying here that I hope I make it a serious and consistent mission to please Krishna and Guru and Gauranga. And also it is said in the purport that these opulences are not needed at the end of life. We don't need any opulence as such to go back home, back to Godhead. We just need to chant and remember Krishna. So I think we can move over to, or if somebody has any reflections so far, we can take that.
Yeah, but the point also that these powers, the ability and the for the mission, they are not meant for going back to the power.
Powerful, yeah.
The sometimes it's just because that's why I'm the service.
Yeah,
Because of which we have been given the service.
true.
The service will take us back to back. But then also the police can not go back to the police just of it and the byproduct is
So true. Beautiful. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Anything else so far?
and sometimes also we might not know what is our schedule, what is my actual things like studies about, and he had also forgotten. But he
True.
Same thing happened to Arjuna, same thing happened to so many
Mhm.
that is, that don't- so it's like how much ever you keep it more technology, then
Multifold. Yeah. Yeah.
But something that is really not because God was power,
Mhm.
for source of power.
Yeah.
Because God, friend, is so. You
Yeah.
can't just see, oh, I'm not anymore, how will I get power?
Mhm.
From there, that's the source of power. So that's what we want to like this.
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. That's a deep reflection also. Yeah, and Krishna is present in every living being's heart as Paramatma. So, like Alankar Prabhu was saying, whenever we feel lost or we don't know how to handle a situation, let us just surrender and hear for the answer and seek blessings, pray, do devotional services. Should we move on? So Krishna is also present in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is called Nitya Avatar. I was reading. It's called eternal incarnation of Bhagwan Krishna. It is Amala Puran. It's called Sattva. It's in the mode of pure or goodness. Um, so from because I love Sanskrit like Subhashita so much, I heard one from Amarendra Prabhu about Srimad Bhagavatam. I wish to recite that here. He he's saying that in Sri Padyavali by Rupa Goswami, um, it is described um, what Bhagavad, like why we should read Bhagavatam, especially in today's day and age. So it says, Aho ahobhir nakaler viduyate. Aho ahobhir nakaler viduyate. Sudha sudhara madhuram pade pade. Dine dine chandana chandra shitalam. Yasho yashodatanayasya giyate. So what this verse by Rupa Goswami is saying is, it's actually praising the devotee or giving, uh, clarifying what a devotee gets from Srimad Bhagavatam. So one who daily sings the fame or glories of Yashoda's son, Yashoda Tanaya, Yash of Yashoda Tanaya. So the glories of Yashoda's son, which are cooling as sandalwood, uh, chandana and camphor, and so that person is not troubled by the days of Kali Yoga. Na kaler viduyate. So if we take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam as an eternal incarnation of Sri Krishna, then we won't be troubled by the effects of Kali Yoga. And for such a person, at every step, there will be torrential flood of the sweetest nectar. Sudha. Sudha means sweet nectar. Sudhara. It will be like a flow of the sweetest nectar, like, like the moonbeam. And then it was also described like how many times to read Srimad Bhagavatam? Narad Muni says, Sada Sevya, Srimat Bhagavati Katha, Yasya Shravana Matrena, Hari Chittam Samashrayat. Just by listening or just by hearing to Srimad Bhagavatam, Hari, Lord Hari, whose shelter we should take, he we are supposed to take his shelter, but he enters the hearts of the listeners. Hari Chittam Samashrayet. If we do that. Okay, I have one more verse. Uh, Narada Muni one was that I forgot to write. The first one was from Padyavali. Sada Sevya, I don't know. Sada Sevya, yeah, Srimad Bhagavati Yatsya Shravana Matrena Hari Chittam Samashrayet. I know that Narad Muni has said that, but I forgot to write from which Shastra. Yeah, maybe it is within Bhagavatam. And like in the initial parts, like the third shlok of Srimad Bhagavatam, what it says is Bhagavatam should not be read, or we even say served, but not even that. Pibata, we should drink the juice. Pibata rasamalayam, because it's filled with all the rasas or mellows. Muhuhu, it should be done again and again. Yeah, I think this is all from within Bhagavatam. Narada Muni is saying. Yeah, Pibatam Saturday. Rasamam. Rasam Pibatam. Okay. Should we move on to the last verse for today? Text 6. Again, Arjuna is saying, Yasya kshana viyogena loko hi priyadarshanah ukthena rahito yesha mrutakah prochate yatha. So yasya means whose, kshana, just one kshana is a moment, viyogena, yoga means union, so viyoga is its opposite, by separation. Lokah, all the universes, he, certainly, apriyadarshanaha, everything appears unfavorable, ukthena, by life, rahita, being devoid of, he, certainly, eshah, all these bodies, mritakah, dead bodies, prochate, are designated, yatha, as it were. So in this verse is where the main separation is said it out by Krishna. He's saying, I have just lost him whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. So saying that in the absence of Krishna, everything becomes unfavorable, unpalatable, like lifeless. Like what was attractive in the presence of Krishna becomes repulsive by his absence. Like it's already given in this verse, like a dead body. It becomes like disgusting and scary. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said in Shikshashtakam, 7th verse, Yugayitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrushayitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. So he's saying shunyayitam jagat sarvam. The whole world is like, feels like a void. Govinda virahena, by separation from Lord Govinda. Oh, he's saying, oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years. Feeling like this one moment feels like 12 years, like a yuga. And tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all void or vacant in the world in your absence. He's saying this to Lord Govinda. So Krishna is the life of everything that lives. And listening to this song, I don't know enough details about it, but it just goes by Jiya Jiya Ra Govinda Bolo Re. Whenever, it's just saying that, just sing Govinda's glories. Whenever any unpalatable or inauspicious event occurs, I think it's a good time to introspect. Like, where did I lose connection with Krishna? Instead of blaming, like, why did this happen to me? Why me? Or whatever is happening. Like, instead of, like, some people, like, they are thankful to God when something good happens and then blame God when something bad happens. So instead of having that blaming mentality, which leads to nothing, we should try to connect everything with Krishna and introspect as to where we are losing out on that connection. So like I was saying initially, Arjuna was an empowered soul, and his grief, so far it may look like it are the symptoms of an ordinary conditioned person's grief. There is loss of strength, like when I was really depressed and going through a really bad time, I had a very cloudy judgment. I didn't know what to do, what is the right thing to do. like loss of judgment, loss of strength, even day-to-day activities felt like too much. Like even just taking a shower was like a big achievement. Like little things like talking and walking, and so we can see that Arjuna was unable to talk. He was choked up, but no, that is nothing close to what us conditioned souls uh, feel when we are feeling dejected. And so I heard from one Mataji's class. I've written all the names to acknowledge them at the end. I think that was Ram Bhoru Mataji. Uh, she has made a beautiful point that Arjuna is reaching in. He is reflecting and acknowledging all the so many glorious ways Krishna has favored and helped him throughout his life. He's remembering it all and feeling grateful. And this is a time of transformation. Like whenever something like this happens, great souls take this as a sign of transformation. So the title of this chapter gives us a hint that what is to come is Pandavas are going to retire. So the whole material world is also pervaded by Krishna, not just spiritual, but the material world. There is impersonal matter as well as conscious being. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that Brahmano hi pratishtha is the basis of even impersonal Brahman. Thank you, Chanakya Pandit Prabhu. So I think we have time to read the purport, right? Yeah. Anybody wants to read?
Actually, for a living being, there is no one greater than the Lord. The Lord expands himself by innumerable parts and partners and has the strong samsha and the Vijnanamsha. Paramatma is the samsha part of the Lord, whereas the Vijnanamsha part are the living. All the living beings, as the living being, is the important factor in the material body, but without the material body has no value. Similarly, without Paramatma, the living being has no status quo. Similarly, Brahman and Paramatma has no locus standing without the Supreme Lord Krishna. This is thoroughly explained in the Bhagavad Gita. They are all interlinked with one another, or interdependent factors. Thus, in the ultimate issue, the Lord is the summum bonum, and therefore the vital principle of the being.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, so at the end here it says, Lord is the summum bonum. I looked it up. What does summum bonum mean? It's supreme good in which all moral values are included and derived from. So, Lord is the controller as well as the source of everything, including matter, like I was saying. So, Krishna is providing for each and every living being as well as matter in this world. We have an intelligent creator. So all we need is ideal management. And for that, what we learn in Krishna consciousness, like I used to think like a karma yogi, like social service, like do this, that, volunteering, like that is what we should do. I used to feel strongly for that. Before learning that actually the ultimate service is preaching Krishna consciousness. Because in Bhagavad Gita it is clearly said that Dukkhalayam Shashvatam. So once we know for certain that this is a place of miseries and it's temporary, then at least we won't be as dejected or disappointed as when we know already what to expect. So Radhanath Swami has said in one class that we should expect disaster at every moment. So if it doesn't happen, well and good, we'll be happy and grateful. But if it does happen, at least we won't be as shocked. So yeah, the greatest service what I have learned now is Krishna consciousness, teaching Bhagavad Gita, and like it's often said, we need spiritual solution to material problems. I haven't reached that far, but I heard in the class that in the 12th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described that success will be equivalent to defeat. Like just cheating other people will be called success. Like that is what is happening in today's age. And the only solution to that is going to the root cause. So what is the root cause of all the problems? That we are all separated from Krishna and we have forgotten Krishna. I can only speak for myself, but I mean, it's universal. Like we, even in this polarized world, even religion is so divided, which is leading to violence and all the sad stories. But we need to understand that everyone, regardless of what part of the world or background they come from, the root cause is that we should know where we come from. We should be aware of our limited powers, do only the prescribed duty, which is, or follow the dharma, and try not to be overly passionate or ambitious. So rise over the modes of material nature, and eventually the goal is to come to bhakti path and transcend these modes. Um, and as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita, there is nothing to lose on this path. We begin where we left off. Um, we need to understand that if we take Krishna's favors or all the empowerments, whatever little fractions we have, for our own enjoyment, then we'll get entangled. But if we follow what is said in the Ishopanishad first verse, Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha, we only take our quota and take it as an offering to the Lord, then the Lord will hopefully feel happy and we will feel fulfilled. Like that is the only, because it is said like Jivera Swarupaha Nitya Krishnadas. Our eternal constitutional position is to be a servitor, to serve and act. We should act as per our own nature. We should know ourselves and serve like we are parts and parcels, like I was saying initially. So, yeah, this Viraha Ras, Krishna gives us, this is all like a pastime that Krishna is separated from Arjuna and we are learning. So the Viraha Ras is given to enhance the love and devotion. Often there is more attachment and affection. We always think about the person whom we are separated from. So in this yoga, it will hopefully help us advance in spiritual life. It is actually the most intense feeling of love. Grief, it is described like grief is nothing but love that has nowhere to go. So gopis' love, that was also in separation. They froze when they heard of Krishna's departure. And I don't know enough about the story, but I've heard that they thought Uddhava, when he was there, like he was Krishna, and they started expressing anger towards him because in this Viraha Ras, it's really hard. You're always thinking about that person and you think, oh, that is Krishna. That's what gopis did. So there are so many leelas mentioned about Viraha Ras, Viraha Bhav of gopis. And there was one story I heard in the class that Krishna was also astonished to see Radha's Viraha Bhav. When Madhu was gone, she thought, like Madhu also means honey. Like when the bee was gone, she got so like she was grieving as if like Krishna was gone. She was dejected and acting like crazy. But Krishna was right there, so he got to see it, and he was amazed to see that Viraha Bhav. I think that is all that I had prepared. So yeah, this is my first time ever sitting on this side of the Bhagavatam class. So again, please forgive me for any offenses. Must have done a lot so far, but all the Vaishnavas in the assembly, I'm here to get corrected. So thank you so much. It means a lot that you are here. I made a note of all the classes I listened to. Like, I didn't spend too much time, but just for the last few weeks, like For these verses, on srimadbhagavatamclass.com, there are some audio lectures, and on YouTube and all. There is one from Evolve Pune, Madan Sundar Prabhu on Lotus Voice channel. Then there is Srivatsa Shamasundar from Mayapur, Vichitra Krishna Prabhu from Delhi, Shama Vallabha Prabhu from Bangalore, Navadvipa Praneshwar from Tirupati, Achyuta Gopal, Omkareshwar Prabhu, uh, Gau Govinda Seva from where Omkareshwar Prabhu is, Barsana. And then Rambhoru Mataji, Madhavendu Das, Rishikesh Das, and Bhakti Raghav Maharaj from New Talavan. So I thank all of them for helping me prepare. And I had very little reflection, so I have a lot to do to feel it at a deeper level. But I will open it now to for everyone. Please correct me. Let's start with that.
Now, we have heard
I was lost.
also that the context of the way that I'm imagining what are going to and what is the Maharaj also that like even in our life, right, just one day we get some goes away. These person use stress of the way. Lot of
Yeah, can't relate to that. Yeah.
thank you for telling so many for purpose that that um,
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
so one thing else that even have so have one that is was that of years now these were not perfect.
Yeah, that stuck with me when you first said it. Yeah.
But the most important is that the purpose where what is to be outcome is the the home and so no one nobody just really for them to that responsibility for them. Like now our for that
Yeah.
have how 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 and then there were few hundred of the response. But the main listener is that
Yeah. Yeah. I feel honored to get to serve in front of Sri Sri Radha Network. Please pray everyone for me that I get at least little taste in chanting. I'm so bad about it. Mhm. Ramesh Prabhu, would you like to share something?
no.
Yeah, great. And I was, and the amount of references which you gave, I was like stunned actually. You were able to compile so much together, right? And that too is in a short time. And despite your personal schedules, she gives such a busy travel schedule and all those things. Very encouraging to see that. I think you should continue. Try to give regularly these classes and. Yeah, very. Even I'm like seeing some of these purports are like so. This one sentence stood out. Prabhu, can you go down? Just wanted to share. Like, for example, that see that sentence. Similarly, Brahman or Paramatma has no locus standi without the Supreme Lord Krishna. I was just reflecting what would be a good example of that. I was thinking this Govardhan Leela. Would that be a good example of this? See,
demigod Indra.
yeah, Indra was thinking that without Krishna, everything he can do, he can destroy the god and all.
His
See,
pride was.
nothing.
I had actually made a note of
That
that
is
story.
exactly what this sentence says, right?
Yeah, like at elevated position like Indra, it's easy to get puffed up, and Indradev's pride, Krishna was able to make him
Another way of
humble.
looking at, so Indra is teaching us a lesson actually. God himself, they create these situations
Yeah.
so that souls like conditioned souls like us can learn these lessons actually. So,
Yeah,
thank you so much. Yeah, it's very nice.
thank you. There was also a point in the purport about Swamsha and Vibhintamsha.
Mhm.
So, okay, I know very little about it, but so Swamsha is the personal expansion.
So, through Leelas or pastimes in the spiritual world, they teach us that the Chaturvyuha, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, and Sankarshana, they are all on Vishnu Tattva level, and Vibhinna Amshas are a separated or marginal energy of Krishna in the material world, and on the Jiva Tattva level.
Comes from that word. Amsha,
Amsha, yeah.
Va, and Vibhin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I remember we are spiritual beings and the
Material world, yeah. Spiritual, we are spiritual beings having human experience. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. We are just traveling through Earth.
One more interesting that the classes are giving for our own property. Any of these things can see, they are so theoretical.
Yeah.
What is it? Practice.
Yeah.
Like, so difficult to take this book. But what Prabhu was thinking, at least let's be aware of that we should be going and what should be our time.
Yeah.
Today, you may not be doing that, but that should not discourage you from not doing anything or anything. So, a lot of people, there's only things that they do. So, okay, you are given one service. That doesn't mean that don't look at any other service. Yeah, no, this is not my service. This is not my service. So that's good. Like, but what you are saying is at least be aware. Like, final target is whether this or this, everything is my service. There is nothing like this is not my service, that's not my service. But you are saying like today you may not achieve it. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But at least be aware that final target is that. So everybody cannot achieve everything in one go, you know. So it's that. So that's why these things are very important. Like we should understand the ultimate goal of things. The ultimate goal is, as you rightly said, you also said that Gopi Balkamano, that's the final role. But intermediate will have so many roles, so that is fine.
And everybody have their own nature also.
Correct. And that's
Nature
absolutely okay.
and-
That's what you were trying to say. So,
Every service is for Krishna.
right. And it's like you have to grow as you. So at least know the target where we need to reach. So, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing this. Anyone else?
Kajal Mataji says, very nice lecture. Thank you. Very inspiring that you are speaking today.
Thank you all for encouraging.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Final comments? Questions? Okay. Gandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Yeah.